Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another podcast episode of Insights by OutsightX Season 2. Now, here we are kickstarting the what we call very quietly Level 2 in our podcast, wherein we're interviewing industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who make a real impact in the working world right now. And to kick us off today, we have Mr. Prasanna Kuthe sir with us, who have been gracing the IPM first years that are coming, the 23-28 batch. So thanks to Mr. Priyanandan, who is a placement officer here at Nalsar, we were able to get in touch with sir. And he's graciously, said yes to recording an episode with us. So welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you very much.
To give you a little brief about sir, and we'll be delving into the recording very soon. So sir is a multilingual HRM vice president. He knows English, Hindi, Kannada, Marathi as well, and has started his journey from being a business partner at Dell all the way to he being the vice president at his current company. So you have also went from a tech conglomerate all the way to a SaaS product that you've told us that we're working on right now. And apart from that, so you have been we found really really amazing was that you've been voted the top 25 most HR leaders by the World HR Congress as well, and you have a lot of multiple awards in this situation. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that, but we'll do that later in the podcast, sir.
Sure.
So I wanted to welcome you, sir. So welcome.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate this opportunity of talking to you guys.
Thank you, sir. So getting into the first question right now, sir, as a person who heads the HR department of a lot of your individual portion as well, I wanted to ask you, what is the role that an analytics play in the selection process of a candidate? Because a lot of people put in jargons in their words just to hype up their CV, but they don't turn out to be as good as those candidates that they project themselves to be. Now, as being B students, हमें भी सिखाया जाता है, right? कि CV बनाते कैसे हैं, उसमें क्या words डाले जाएंगे. But then, as a person who's on the other side of the table and is evaluating कि कौन अच्छा है और कौन नहीं है, so what do you feel is something that puts you apart from the crowd? कि कुछ चीजें हैं which we see कि ये तो is a clear red flag for us.
Okay, so that's a pretty interesting question to start with, and I would say yes, analytics does play a big role in selection, because now most of the big large MNCs have their application tracking systems, and
right,
and many of them are AI enabled now, and the software has been taught to detect an occurrence or a severity of the occurrence, what happens. But more than I would say, the people who are teaching that AI are the people who are having the experience. So we are much more ahead of the AI, I would say, for that matter, in terms of really understanding whether what is being written whether he'll be able to substitute it or substantiate it rather with some kind of evidences. In my personal experience, I would say, I prefer more of a behavioral interviews, where I would specifically, dwell into the situation, the task that, the person has handled, the actions that he took, and the results that it gained. And many times in my own personal experience, I have seen that, whenever people exaggerate things, or, whenever a candidate exaggerates things, I ask for a contra evidence, because somebody says, I've done this, I've done that, I've been good in this, I've good in that. Say, okay, what are the things you've not been good at? Okay, give me 3 projects you failed, and what have you learned out of it? Okay, so that sometimes give you the insight into the reality of a person, whether whatever he said was an exaggeration, or he's equally receptive to the fact that there are certain things which he has not done well, and he's been very clean and clear on it. So those are some of the traits that we look at. But essentially, in a segment like recruitment, my experience tells me that analytics are the pointers for us to really deep dive, but the real skill of scooping it up comes with an experience, and that's where I think probably the experience counts, and we get trained, because as an HR, probably that was the paramount thing we would have always done in hiring a talent.
Right, sir.
And it's only we get better and better with experiences.
Right, sir.
So you can lie, you can detect lie, you can, because, like always, in criminology they say, and I'm talking to Nalsar, I'm here in the law firm, in a law college, say every criminal leaves some, hint behind.
Yeah.
So every exaggerated CV also leaves something that we can deep dive on.
Right.
So we have been trained by our profession, and that's where we are able to spot these lies.
Right.
Say that.
So and I feel like this has been used in the industry at a very global scale right now. Even as of last month, I was applying to the Global Governance Initiative's Impact Fellowship. Now, this is not a job per se. They were giving a fellowship, but they had given an interview question where they said, "Give me 3 instances where you failed." So because they wanted to highlight where you haven't gone right and what you feel you could have done better from there. So I feel like this has been a recurring instance in the industry where they're trying to analyze the behavior of the person before they do something about their candidature. Right, sir. So going into the second question, sir, there's I was reading about your company on LinkedIn as well, and you had written that in the description as well, you had mentioned that there should be minimal disruption, there should be maximum impact, and the maximum amount of leverage that can give to your customer and the ease of use it can give by your SaaS product. So I wanted to ask you, in the age where almost all startups are going for maximum disruption, why there was a special emphasis on using the minimum disruption in your SaaS product, sir? Because I'm seeing a lot of companies like Mistral AI, which was in France, that are raising $113 million ka seed round. At the same time, I'm seeing a lot of companies which have consciously taken the effort that we're not trying to do that, we're trying to do something different and more sustainable. So what are your views on that, sir?
Okay, so if you really look at the product that we are developing for the market, is a mini ERP version for small and medium enterprises.
Right.
Now, typically in an Indian context, there are either you have very big like your SAP and other ERP products like Oracle, or you have nothing. There's nothing in between. So from the market gap analysis, we always found that there is this space, there's this big space where a mini ERP system can really be helpful to small and medium enterprises.
Right.
So that's where we started pitching. Now, in terms of the growth trajectory of small and medium enterprises, there's very little that government has started doing at this point in time. It was not the focus. Now, after probably Prime Minister Modi coming into picture, they formed a ministry, and then there has been a lot of focus on it. But piece is that if a disruption has to happen and if disruption has to be accepted by the organization's willingness, the price that they have to pay, that capacity also should be there.
Right.
And only big companies can absorb those disruptions and not the smaller kind of companies. So therefore, we are pitching at a product which will cause minimal disruption.
Right.
Okay, our focus is basically streamlining. Only when certain things are streamlined, then it can really get into more disruptive and more interesting, because the segment is like that, small and medium enterprises. One of our product that we always talk about is the hyperlocal. Now today, that one Kirana shop who is just opposite to your house doesn't have anything, because Amazon will charge him bomb if you really have to order something, or if you have to look at for that matter a small time fashion shop selling fashion accessories or something like that. He cannot put it onto Amazon because they charge a lot, and therefore this hyperlocal kind of product that we have, which will help. Okay, which is helping, and recently we have launched a miniature version of it, and we have about 3 or 4 customers who have adopted that product, and it's getting good response.
Right.
So that's where we feel that's the value of disruption, and our disruption, the form of disruption that we're using is more of a streamlining first and then disrupting it further, because the segment is like that.
Right.
Okay, maybe there will be in future we will learn something out of these endeavors, and probably we'll be really able to come with a really very disruptive product. But I think it's a journey that we are in right now, because it all starts with support first, and then comes the disruption. So
Right.
let it get stabilized, this SMEs, and then probably we can talk about more disruptive things.
Right. So that's a very intuitive approach that we found. MSMEs, if you target, then the people that really need it the most will be able to come and participate in the market a lot.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that. I've been meaning to ask you about this for a while. That you've started from Dell, and then you came all the way to creating a SaaS product, which is inherently, as you said, playing in the MSME market. What was that journey like? How did that idea come to you? We'll participate in this endeavor and then build it even more.
Okay, that's a pretty interesting question. I mean, when I really look back on my 25 years of career journey, I always feel a deep sense of gratitude, because I was lucky, I would say, that I was able to work with different segments. I was different sectors and different type of organizations, from very small, owner-driven to a global MNC like Honeywell, where probably could be a dream for somebody for that kind of thing.
Right.
And that too in a function like HR, where always you're at the center of the stage all the time. My perspective of my career after 25 years has been that I would have had good experiences in getting hands-on experiences on strategy part of it, talent acquisition part of it, compensation benefit part of it.
Right.
Probably by virtue of being associated with different organizations, I had that privilege to touch probably every aspect of an HR. And then what happens at certain stage of your career, you have that pause that comes to you, and then you say, okay, now what is that I want to do? Okay, and therefore I found this startup as an exciting thing, because in all goodness, in all honesty, the joy in this stage of career always comes by creating something, and not just by good execution of something which has already been preconceived, designed by corporate, and you just have to execute it. So startups can be very, very gratifying because they give you opportunity to co-create something. Okay, and you can carve out a story. And today we are here, to really carve out a story for us. Very soon, you will see that we will be unicorn.
Right, sir. We hopefully will be able to see that very soon, sir. Sir, also I was picking up on the fact that you worked in a very multi-layered setup where you will be able to touch a lot of aspects in HR itself. So since you also told us that you also passed out from SIVM a couple of years ago. Actually, it's been a while since you told us that, sir. So I wanted to ask you, was HR something that you wanted to pursue right after your master's was done, your MBA was done, or was that something you picked up along the way later?
On a humor side, I feel I was cut out for HR.
Right.
I have always been a people person. Ever since my childhood, because I never enjoyed doing something in isolation. I was never good at playing chess because only two people play. I was always good in playing cricket. I was always good in playing outdoor games. I was very outspoken. And sometimes I feel I was gifted with that kind of thing. And I was always people person, and irrespective of my age at that point in time, I always had mixed age of people who were my friends, and who would come and talk to me and wanted to be with me, kind of thing. I think I was cut out for HR, I would say. But yes, passion is one thing, and then being groomed by your academicians is another thing. So I probably used my education as a grooming tool for me, and I think that's where my passion grew more, and it kind of fell into the right mold of being a good HR professional, and I hope so.
So actually, a couple of things that I was also lately picking up on is that I also, for one, really enjoy sports like football, sports like cricket, where you can play with 11 more people against a couple of teams. So you can actually figure out if your dynamic with each individual person is good or not. But sir, actually going a little bit into the corporate side of things, once even in a team, even in cricket, even in companies, there are a lot of conflicts that always pop up. And even when you're playing a match, you're under pressure. You have to deliver maybe a goal for your football team, maybe a strategy level goal that you have to give for your corporates as well. So, sir, how do you think an efficient HR leader should be handling conflicts, especially when there is a mix of cultures where it comes at a company? It won't be just one, a set of culture that comes in. It's all over India that is represented in each and every company. So how do you think a conflict by the best HR leader should be handled in this scenario?
Okay, so not all conflicts are bad.
Right.
Okay, and if an organization has to progress well, it cannot be a one-sided kind of an organization where everybody thinks the same way. So conflicts are inevitable in an organization. Now, it is up to the leadership of an organization. How do they use those conflicts for? What do they use those conflicts for? Now, typically in a workplace scenario, you always have an approach and an avoidance kind of conflict. So as long as you understand what kind of conflict it is, like I always say, understanding is halfway to the solution. Okay, if you get the context right, you have solved the problem halfway. So my approach to conflict has been understanding the context where it is coming from. Okay, many a time it comes because somebody is trying to avoid something, or the other person is not understanding that something is at stake for the other person. He's just probably only one-sided. And I think the more we understand it, the more better it is to resolve the conflict. And in a typical corporate journey, I have experienced that people either take it like my personal goal, or I want to win and I want you to kind of lose, and winning is in the spirit. But if somebody can think about win-win, winning together, I think that's where it will much more easier to handle the conflict.
Right.
Third thing I essentially feel is to be able to be a good conflict resoluter, or a person who resolves the conflict. The character of a person and a competence of a person is also equally important, because only when you have that trust factor and people will come to you, and say, okay, we have differences, but okay, let's go to him and solve it. So it just doesn't happen just by hook or by design, but that kind of credibility leaders have to earn in the organization to be a good conflict resolver. So I would lay a lot more importance on being more credible and being more having a good character where people respect you for whatever it is. And I would say it is not practically possible to stay dry in a pond of full of water, but as much as you can save yourself, the people witness everything, and that's where you gain the trust that okay, this gentleman or this person or this leader will not be biased. He will be unbiased towards it. And I think being unbiased, being understanding the situation is another way how you really solve a conflict.
That's it. So even in like the little experience I have had, I've understood that if in any case there's a conflict, you need to understand if there's a mismatch of expectations and reality that is not being met by a couple of people. You have to get that sorted with them pehle, and you have to figure out if a conflict is arising, what's the source of that. There's a lot of pre-thinking that goes into resolution of a conflict as well, and I really appreciate people who are able to completely delve into that and get that sorted as well. So going into the part that I'm the most excited about is that so you have won a lot of awards for being the topmost HR leader as well. So one thing I wanted to ask you is that you were by the World National Congress, you were voted the top 25 leaders in Telangana. So how was that experience like, and what was your journey that you felt was the major breakthrough that got you to the position as well?
I think several things in a span of 25 years probably has gone into getting to the stage where you are recognized for the top 25 leaders in Telangana. But like a true soldier, who always will have scars and who always have medals. So we don't talk about our scars, but we talk about medals. But to get those medals, you have to have scars. Okay. So I think it's a journey of a victory which goes through having a lot of scars and finally getting to the medals. But essentially, to specifically answer your question, I think what probably gets recognized, as an HR professional to get to that level of what is a business partnership. Because today, if you really contextually, if you see the role of an HR today, it is way far different than what it used to be.
Right.
Okay, administratively managing your transactions, managing your PMS, all those things are getting now outdated. There is quite a few of the things which can be done by software. So today, if you really look at HR as a role, I think we are talent aggregators, we are culture creators, and we are the relationship developers and employee advocate. Right. So that's the four bucket I feel where an HR can really contribute to the growth of an organization. And I think whatever contributions I have done in my career, whether it is Capgemini Honeywell merger, or whether it is global grading systems, or developing an employee engagement module for a large corporate, I think everything finally had to come somewhere, and probably that's where they saw value in me, and maybe that's the reason people kind of I received that award.
Right, sir. Because sir, we've also figured out over the course of this podcast that everything from ATS scanning all the way to resolving conflicts, the role of an HR person has been expanded by a very long margin. So maybe a startup or maybe a corporate, there's a lot of work that goes into strategy and planning before each and every policy is rolled out. So, sir, actually, this would come from a student perspective because I also am looking at starting my corporate career as well or my entrepreneurial journey as well very soon. So, I wanted to ask you about this as well, sir. As someone who has recently spoken to our IPM first years, the 23-28 batch, and someone who's actually in the presence of a lot of second years and third years as well, I wanted to ask you if there was one general direction that you wanted to point a student in to create the best career they could for themselves in the HR domain, what would that advice be?
Create value. Because today, any organization will only sustain as long as it creates value.
Right, sir.
Okay. If a company does not, bring a new product which is valued by customer, that company has no meaning, and that
Right,
company can never flourish. Similarly, for every function, and HR is not agnostic to that, HR has to create value.
Right, sir.
Okay. And that is probably the only way how you can really add value to the organization, and therefore organization adds value to the people and the organization flourishes. So always look for an opportunity to create value, whether it is designing your compensation benefit system or any total rewards, or whether it is competency mapping module,
Right.
or whether it is defining PMS system. Everything is focused at what value do I get out of it.
Right.
Okay, a business leader's typical question is, okay, so how does it make a difference to me?
Right.
Okay, and I think the more we keep that big question in mind before we design or approach any of the HR activities, that is it useful to company?
Right.
Okay, is it something that can be leveraged? Is it something that is leveraged by business leaders? Is it something that is liked by employees? And is it really creating that value? And I think if your question is yes all the time to all three questions, then you are really adding value, and that is the only way how you can grow up in the career.
Right, sir. So, slightly diving a little deeper into the question, you have also told us that since childhood you knew that you are extremely good at teamwork. You're good at handling people. So you knew you're a people person for a while, and then you could add a functionality to it with the help of your MBA degree and the help of your experiences as well. So for someone who was straight out of 12th, has just come into the first year, let's say here at Nalsar, would you suggest going for a sector agnostic approach, learning everything from everywhere and then choosing a domain, or having something or doing your own behavioral analysis and then choosing one and just pursuing?
I would say for 1 or 2 years, I wouldn't really to fix your mind on something, because you are at a receiver's end at this point in time.
Right, sir.
And the best thing receiver can do is receive. Okay, so receive as much as you can, because only when you get deeper, okay, you yourself realize that what is that you like, what is that you do not like. Now, many times it is a very, very tricky question to answer, that as to what do I really like, because it is so confusing. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I love marketing and I'm going to do marketing as my career. And sometimes you get so passionate about HR. Oh, wonderful. I think I am cut out for HR. Or sometimes you feel so excited about travel, meeting new people, results. So you have a different perspective.
Right.
But irrespective of that, and these confusions to me, in all honesty, remains throughout your life, because throughout your life, your career is nothing but a self-exploratory journey. Because I have seen people changing career after 10 years, because they didn't realize that was their true passion. Okay, that was the true north that they were looking at. Okay, so it is for the initial stages. I would say it is more on exploration. Expose yourself to everything. Okay, many times we know, that what we like we may not know, but what we dislike we definitely know. Okay, so if you are not able to decide what you like, at least narrow down the choice to what you really dislike.
Right.
Okay, maybe marketing is never your passion, and therefore you eliminate that. Okay, or you are passionate about 3 or 4 things, you just narrow it down to that. one method of really eliminating or choosing is something by elimination. Okay, and then there will be that time when you will really have that inner calling and start feeling that yes, this is what I want to do and this is what is good for me. Okay.
Right, sir. Actually, so again, diving a little deeper into the same question, we have recently seen over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen the rise of the metaverse that came in, and then that slowly died out, and the wing of AI came in. We've had these fads coming over for the last decade, so you would know that much better than any of us would. So, for someone who has been consistently there for an industry and has performed consistently at the top of it, how would you suggest someone to find their true north at the same time? While there are also distractions that sometimes come in, where sometimes it's like this is the industry that will reign in the future, but that somehow dies out. So for someone who only has, let's say, 2 to 3 years to do that, how would you suggest them, sieving the fad out of the actual reality and then choosing something that actually helps them out?
Yeah. So obviously now with the advances in psychology and with advances in behavioral sciences, we are far more ahead in terms of really identifying where your key strengths are. Okay, if your inner calling doesn't tell you, I would say take a psychometric test. And today, definitely there are enough psychometric tests which can reveal your inner self to you.
Yes.
You might feel that this is what my competence is, but a portion of the brain where the cells should be active are not at all active. Your inclination is more towards this. Okay, and therefore those are predictors of success, and those are psychometric tests you can take.
Right.
But most of the time, I have seen that inner call or your realistic self-assessment of your abilities, what you want to do is the real directing thing.
Right.
Because for lucky people it comes right at the beginning. They know what they are passionate about and they know what they want to do. For some it's a change of track. But unlike, like I said, earlier we didn't have these kind of options, but now
Right.
today you have a lot of psychometric tests available, which can show you your true self, and you
Right.
can rely on those, and those are very, very validated. Like I always say, MBTI in HR
Right.
parlance, which is 16 PF.
Right.
These are so much accurate. They may not tell you that what you should do or what you should not do.
Right.
But given a choice, like I always say, would you like to eat with right hand or left hand? Okay, the test will definitely tell you that your preference is right hand. Okay, and if you continue to eat with right hand, you will enjoy the food more
Right.
versus struggling. Not that you cannot eat with left. So even these kind of signals or these kind of inputs are also equally important at this point in time at the beginning of a career if the inner calling is not happening.
Right, sir. I mean, over the course of our college as well, we've been taught the Myers-Briggs test as well, sir. So I think Amish sir, who had been on the podcast before, has actually asked us to do our own test and then revert back to us. I think this is a sort of a process that he's creating so that by the time we reach the 5th year, you would know what you want.
That's amazing, and I think that's the beauty of Nalsar. They're always ahead, of the other colleges. It's a very nice thing.
Thank you. So one thing that I also felt was that the fact that you said that you have to experience a lot in the first 2 years actually resonates a lot with me, because the moment I came to the college, I came in as AIR1. Now people started to recognize that abhi to AIR1 he should be the identity, but I realized that this is not something I would want to solely associate myself with. So starting up with OutsightX also helped me realize that I could learn search engine optimization, buy my own domain for OSX, and then publish articles regularly, start a LinkedIn channel as well. At the same time, create videos for YouTube as well for our channel as well as the Nalsar channel. So a couple of things at the same time, we started to realize that when conflicts pop up, when you try to do new things that come in, you expand yourself to be actually hit by a lot more things than you would have if you would have been closed down. And that helps you become slightly more polyglot at the same time, and helps you realize more that this is something that I want to do. At the same time, these are the things that I absolutely hate doing, that I do not want to do. I would much rather choose these 4 things, and the confluence of these 4 must be something I must be looking for and be good at. Because I realized that and at the same time I realized I didn't have a flair for speaking in my 10th standard, 11th standard. But by the time the first year of college came out, I had given a Harvard pair talk at Delhi. There was an international conference. I had given a couple of talks here as well. Over the course of our B school, we've given 70 odd business pitches. We've gone to IP to actually pitch to Mr. Ravi Kabra, who is Skippy Ice Pop's founder, who was at Shark Tank. So I think even the process of just going through a B school puts us in a lot of heavy fire where we can figure out कि ये मुझे आता है, but at the same time ये नहीं होगा. So to conclude our conversation, we have actually conversed about a lot of things, starting from how analytics plays a role, all the way to how SIBM helped you in your journey and your corporate stint, starting from Honeywell, starting from Dell, all the way to your current startup, and everywhere from conflict resolution to what you should do if you're an IPM first year. So is there any other piece of advice that you would like to give the IPM juniors that would be watching this podcast and aspiring IPM aspirant that would be watching this podcast?
No, like I said, and I was talking to the first year student, a couple of hours back. Piece is, and I was talking about career of a concept there.
Right.
And I say, you have 40 years of career ahead of you. Not sure now whether this generation will really do 40 years of work or not. And I'm sure they will not. But three large circles that really defines your career track. One is your performance, which is the biggest circle where you have the maximum control on it. Second, I talk about skills and learning, skills and competencies for that matter. And third is the opportunities. Okay, so in terms of the largest control that you have, all you can control is your performance, because that's where you are yourself responsible for it. You choose to do thing or you choose not to do thing.
Yes.
Skills, and learnings, competencies can be acquired with help of somebody else. You have little bit dependency, maybe on a learning portal or a college professor or an industry expert. And opportunity is something that you absolutely have very less control, because you wouldn't know, what opportunity you will get and how will you make best out of it. So I would say, continue to focus on developing yourself, and I feel these are those golden 5 years. Okay, of course the life doesn't stop at 5 years; actually restarts. So these are those golden 5 years where you can expose yourself. And it's a harmless place as of now, because there in that corporate Shark Tank, you can be eaten up for something you do wrong.
Right.
Okay, I'm just using a metaphor of it, but nobody is that bad in the corporate world. Otherwise, we would have not survived. But expose yourself, learn, and practice something. I think this 5 years can really turn you, into a real good professional if you really take it to the stride. Okay, you have to be ahead of others. Okay, and in a positive competition, what you call it, you have to be ahead of others. And I think while parents do their piece of bit of contribution, the academia does their bit of contribution. I would also say the seniors, seniors like you, who also have to do that kind of contribution to making sure that the juniors who come into the college get the right mindset. Okay, because all said, this influence is far more, far reaching than the influence of parents or, I would say academicians for that matter, and industry professionals. So I think collectively all of us hold that responsibility, and we are enablers for the young students, and they should be able to use us for their betterment and therefore get better and be able to serve the industry and bring the transformation and change.
Right, so no one could have put it better than these words. Thank you so much, sir. So with this, we would be wrapping up this wonderful episode filled in with insights. Thankfully, that's what we called our podcast, because this episode was precisely what we were looking for. So thank you so much, sir, for coming, and we will be wrapping up yet another podcast episode. We will be back very soon with yet another guest, with yet another industry expert, and yet another set of insights that should inspire and give you the motivation to do more and achieve the best in your life. Maybe your career, maybe your B school, maybe any aspect of your life that you're trying to excel. We're trying to get you more information and more aspects of your life that you can actually enable yourself to do better and do much greater things that you are right now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, and thanks for this opportunity of being associated with you. Thank you, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir.